When I hiked the Appalachian Trail, I lost a lot of weight. I was gluten-free, or at least I thought I had to be gluten-free for the entire trail. And essentially what happened is I got to a point where when I was in Maine, my body was starting to deteriorate.
Today is the first day in a long time that I have energy. I think I'm finally got enough calories to recover.
I lost a lot of weight. My body was starting to smell like pneumonia or ammonia, and it was really bad. I definitely needed to gain some weight when I got back from trail. Not a whole lot of research about what happens and what, like nothing really trail specific of, oh yeah, when you come back from a thru hike, here's how you reacclimate your diet. I decided to get a dietitian to kind of help assist me for the last year, and I've learned so much.
I'm Lindsay Cortez. I'm a registered dietitian, sports dietitian. I'm an athlete myself, a business owner, entrepreneur, I like to call, podcast host, and a new mom.
I wanted to bring Lindsay on because she's very, very knowledgeable in her craft. Essentially, I wanted to ask the question, what happens when you go on a thru hike? Because most of the time you see thru hikers, they start the trail and they start the trail at like a pretty average weight. And then by the time that they finish, they drop like a significant amount. And then when they get back home and they start to acclimate, they gain the weight back plus maybe double.
I actually wanted to start this conversation shedding light on a study from I wrote it down, 1944. We can't reproduce it anymore because it would just be so unethical.
Okay.
But so this is why it's like one of the only studies that we can really see what happens to the body and mind during periods of starvation and then refeeding. And so I just want to give you some context. In 1944, World War II was going on, and there was, global food shortages, starvation going on. And these scientists wanted to research that. How do we help people rehab from starvation? So they were able to recruit 36 men. The study was done on men, 36 men, and they brought them through a year-long study. They actually had them live like on site in quarters. They were monitored 24/7. And the first 3 months of the study, they had the men eat a normal diet, which was around 3,000 to 3,200 calories. That was considered a normal diet for a man.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that for 3 months. And then the next 6 months, they brought them through a semi-starvation. So they cut their calories in half. Their calories were at 1,570 calories a day, divided among 3 meals. I actually forget if there were snacks or not. I'd have to revisit the article. But so 6 months of semi-starvation.
Mm-hmm.
During this time, just, amazing, I think like eye-opening and shocking things were observed. First and foremost, weight loss. Almost 25, the average participant lost about a quarter of their body weight and nearly 40% of their muscle mass by the time the 6 months were done. So one, their calories were cut in half. But I also want to highlight that was still 1,500 calories. Think about, the world today that's promoting these 1,200 calorie diets, 1,500 calorie diets,
Yeah.
that. And like, it's like, oh my gosh, like 1,500 calories was a starvation diet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are some physical things, not just the weight loss and the muscle loss though, but reduced heart rate, body temperature dropping.
Going uphill in my rain jacket.
Strength, stamina, all declined. And then there was this mental shift as well, where the men, not only were they irritable and cranky,
Got hiker brain. So I'm a little slow and tired.
Mentally, like they were not able to focus on their educational activities. They were not retaining knowledge. They were not able to, their walks got slow, their stamina, and then the crazy thing is that psychologically, these men became obsessed with food.
I want Taco Bell so badly. This glorious breakfast that Miss Pickles is making for us.
I mean, and this is where weird behaviors start happening. This is the overlap between the psychology of food too. The less food that they were given, the more obsessed they were. They couldn't stop thinking about it, talking about it. They couldn't talk about the work or the school or the walks, that were just all they could think about was food. That's the 6 months of what does starvation do to you physically, but also psychologically. It actually gets you like more obsessed with food, which is really, I see it all the time. It's just this study actually showed that, right?
As through hikers, there's only so much we can do when it comes to bringing food out on trail. We only have our backpacks. And there's a couple people that I was hiking with that had to get off trail because of either the fact that they could not bring enough food and they lost way too much weight, or they got injured or broke a bone of some sort because their body just collapsed because it was so weak, or they fell and because they were so malnourished, their body just kind of collapsed on top of it.
Okay, so then in the next 3 months, they had them in a rehab period of refeeding, but it wasn't a full refeeding. It was still kind of restricted and limited. So they were allowed between 2,000 to 3,000 calories. So almost fully refeeding, but still somewhat limited. They were still being controlled, I would say.
Right.
And during those 3 months of refeeding, the obsessive psychology issues continued, sometimes worsened. Gastrointestinally, like they could not handle food. They wanted the food and they would gobble it and eat it all up because they were so hungry and so obsessed with food. And then they had massive stomach problems, whether it be bloating, gas, pain, diarrhea, constipation, like their stomach just couldn't handle the food. They also participated in like binge eating because they just were so hungry. And then after those 3 months, they had 2 months of unrestricted. So, okay, eat however much you want. And that's where binge eating behavior worsened for most people. And they ate way more than 3,000 calories because they were, again, still in that process of refeeding. And during both the restricted rehab phase and the unrestricted rehab phase, weight did regain. And they gained back all of their weight loss, plus the average guy gained back an extra 10% of their weight loss because they did metabolic testing on the participants, and their resting metabolic rate declined throughout this process. So I believe it was somewhere around 40% decline in your RMA.
Wow.
It's huge, right?
Wow.
So that's why they were able to gain weight back so fast and more, because their metabolism had slowed so drastically.
Your resting metabolic rate is essentially when your body is at complete rest. This is the rate that your body burns calories just to breathe and keep organs running, not including chewing to eat, drinking water, talking, or functioning to stay alive. So dropping 40% is a big deal.
In time, with continued feeding, everything normalized. Some of the participants within 6 months after the study ended did come back to their normal body weight gradually. So that 10% extra that they gained came back. Some of them did take longer. Resting metabolism was able to reset itself with time, but it took time. Whereas it only took 6 months of starvation. It took longer than 6 months to heal, but it was, your body was able to heal. So many people might be looking into, is it my thyroid, or why is my stomach so screwed up now? And then they're going to a gastroenterologist and they're getting tested for celiac disease, or am I lactose intolerant? And it's like, you know what, you actually might be at this moment in time lactose intolerant, but it doesn't mean that you will always be.
Like I said earlier, when I was going through Maine, my body was deteriorating. I was hungry every single night, and my body was smelling this weird ammonia smell, which tends to be correlated with you burning muscle. Your body secretes it as a warning sign.
People going through a through hike where food just isn't available. And it's like, so did you cut your food in down by 20%, down by 40%, down by 50%? How long does a through hike take you? Months and months and months. You can kind of see that your body could have gone through something very similar to what these men were going through. And so what happens in the aftermath? Well, your resting metabolism probably declined significantly. Like, you probably did lose weight as well, but did you also lose a lot of muscle, as this study showed? Now, in a through hike, you're exercising, but your body is just eating, it doesn't have enough calories. So it starts to literally, sounds weird to say, but like, you start to eat your own muscle. Like, your muscle is tissue that you don't need, right? You're not going to eat away your tissue of your lungs or your heart or, you know, like essential organs, but like, okay, you eat away all the fat tissue. And then it's like, I guess I don't need this much muscle. You start to burn that for energy and calories.
When coming back to normal society, I not only gained the weight back, but an additional 15% of what I weighed beforehand.
There are differences physiologically between men and women, which make, I don't wish we had a starvation study on women, but I wish we did. Because what I would assume, honestly, women's hormones do get affected with starvation more severely than men's hormones. Mm-hmm. So I would assume women would lose even more muscle, because think about it. Women don't have testosterone. Well, we have testosterone, but we hardly have any testosterone to even build and maintain muscle in the first place. And then if we go through starvation and all our hormones are shot, like now we've got literally zero testosterone. Now we don't have insulin like growth factor, estrogen, which is our anabolic hormone. We don't have that. And it's like, so women's muscle, I think, would suffer even more because we don't even have the chance of testosterone and insulin like growth factor helping us out. Women also do have a predisposition to gain more weight than men. These are evolutionary biological differences, again, with estrogen and how our insulin functions. We're not doing anything wrong as women. It's just that as women, our body has the hormones in place to say, you need fat around your stomach for making babies. You need fat in your boobs to have healthy breasts. And these are things that doesn't matter if you don't want it, or if you're saying, but I'm not having babies right now, it doesn't matter. That's what your body is coded to do. And so where the men in their refeeding gained all the way back plus 10%, I don't know what percentage it is for women, but I would challenge that it could be a lot more than just 10% body weight for women, because of that genetic biological predisposition to prefer to turn extra energy into body fat, versus the men have that testosterone that turns extra energy into, yes, body fat, but also muscle.
So what now? You just finished your through hike, and what are you supposed to do? Well, unfortunately, there was so much information that was given to me from Lindsay that I kind of had to split this into two parts. So if you are interested in learning about what to do, especially if you are in this situation or you're about to go on a through hike, be on the lookout for the next video. Maybe hit the subscribe button, that bell. If you're interested in following Lindsay, she is on Instagram, and she also has a podcast called the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast. Highly recommend you go check it out. There's a lot of information on there. She brings on amazing experts, and so it's highly worth your time to go and investigate and take a listen. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.